Hey guys, it's Jessica from Pizza Books, and today I'm here with my November wrap-up. This is the second to last wrap-up of the year. I can't believe 2018 is almost over. I have a huge December TBR. I'll link it down below if you want to check it out, and there are a million readathons going on this month. Is it me, or are readathons like the thing now and there's like 10 a month? I feel like I do 2 a month, and that is just, I never succeeded at a readathon, but it's okay. I participated in the Fall into Fantasy readathon, and I feel like that's the only one, but I might have done another one and I don't remember right now. But I have a total of 13 books to share with you. It's either 12 or 13, I don't remember. I did finish 2 books yesterday. Today's the second. I finished 2 books on the first, and I'm including them in this wrap up because they are books that I read mostly in November, and one of them is my Pick What I Read Next that I finished last night, so I want to include it now when it's relevant. So I will just go ahead and get to everything I've read. So the first one was an audiobook I finished, and I've been finishing the series and I'm officially done, but this is the second to last book, and that is Rowdy by Jay Crownover. This is the Marked Men series where they all work in a tattoo shop together, except for one of them is, a couple of them don't actually work in the tattoo shop, but they are like related to people who work in the tattoo shop, or the significant others of the people who work in the tattoo shop. So this is Rowdy's story, and Rowdy is from, I want to say Texas. I'm pretty sure he wears like, you know, cowboy boots and stuff, and he is very closed off about his past, and someone shows up from his past, her name's Salem, working as a receptionist in their new tattoo shop that they have opened up in another part of the city, I think. And there was someone that they lost in the previous book, and that person's the one who invited her to come and be the receptionist, secretary, whatever, working in the tattoo shop. And that person knew that Rowdy had a past with this girl, and they grew up together. They haven't spoken to each other since, and it's their romance. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like on this entire series, I don't know if I've given any of the books 5 out of 5 stars. I think I might have given the first one or possibly the second one a 5. Everything else has been at 3 or 4 stars. They're really good, cute, but they're not like blow me off my feet. I kind of get bored by the end, but this was a really cute romance, and there was some crazy things happening. There's some stuff that happens in there that did keep me on my toes, so still, it's a good series, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next, for my book club with my kids at school, I read Dairy Queen by Katherine Gilbert Murdoch. This is a reread for me. I was obsessed with this book when I read it. When I was, I think I was like freshman in high school. This came out like in 2006. It came out a long time ago. This is about DJ, and she works on her parents' farm because her dad recently got hurt, and her younger brother is like 12 or 13, and her 2 older brothers are off being pro football players, and they kind of abandoned their family and their farm, so DJ's spending the whole summer working from sunrise to sunset. And her dad's best friend's the football coach of their rival school team, and the quarterback needs to learn some self-discipline, so the coach sends him to work on their farm, and it's DJ and his relationship romance story, and she starts training him actually, and then she wants to join the team herself. So I still enjoyed it. I thought there was so much more football, but it's like what I remembered, a majority of this only happened the last like 50 pages. But it was still really cute, a really cute, adorable romance. I think I dropped it down to a 4 stars. This was like one of my favorites of all time, but now rereading it, it's aged well, but I'd give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was an audiobook, and that is the last book of the Marked Men series. I read Asa, and this one is the girl from, I think, the second book. It's her brother, so he showed up at the very beginning of the series, and his relationship is with Royal, who showed up, I think, 2 books ago. She's the cop, and Asa is a known criminal, and he's trying to have a better life, but like there's still bad things like surrounding him, and Royal actually has arrested him before, and she is not a stereotypical cop. She's like gorgeous, and she like dresses provocatively in her free time, and so she really likes Asa, but again, she like feels like he would blame her for having to arrest him, and she's on the good side of the law and he's on the bad side of the law. But it was a really good book. It was a good conclusion to the series. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, this is like a 4 out of 5 star series for me. It's not like amazing, but I liked seeing everybody. I feel like by the time you get to like book 5 or 6 of a series, it's like everyone else is like getting married, having babies, and so I'm like, it kind of seems like too much. I'm like, okay, we're at another wedding. Okay, we have someone else's baby. Like, I liked seeing those couples, but I didn't like how much revolved around them with their marriages and stuff instead of focusing on this couple. Still very good though, 4 to 5 stars. I really do recommend the audiobooks because they're really good. Next, I read Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pierce, and if you guys have been watching me this month, you know that I am obsessed with this series. Oh, I did the Lullathon. That's the other readathon I did. This was part of the Lullathon, and this one's about a girl who is betrothed to a prince, and she does not want to marry him. She's like, that's disgusting. I've never met him. He's probably some old, annoying man. And so she runs away, and the prince runs after her, and an assassin runs after her. You don't know who's who. There's a love triangle with her and the two men, and it's just amazing, fabulous, and like that last like 80 pages are like a wild roller coaster ride, and I'm obsessed, and I need the next book now because that cliffhanger was crazy. So I'm probably gonna try to read the next two next month. I literally have 50 books I want to read in December, so I don't know if I'll get to it, but we'll see. I love this. 5 out of 5 stars, one of my new favorites. The next book I read was a book I got for review, and that is Possession by T.M. Fraser. This is book 2 in the Perversion series, I think is what it's called. And sorry if the reflection's really annoying. I'll try to keep this steady. This is Grimm and Emma Jean's, or EJ's, story. They met when they were really young in the foster care system. Grimm was adopted by people who are in a gang, and EJ, Emma Jean, kind of falls into the family of the other rival gang, so it's a very forbidden romance, and bad things happen to people, and I really loved the first book. There were some things that were a little bit unrealistic. This one, again, things were like a little too out there. I really like the romance. It's very forbidden and it's very dangerous. There's a lot of things that happen to these characters. They are on rival sides of a gang war, but there are some things I feel like are a little far-fetched, which that's just me, so I did give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I just realized I never marked this book as finished in my reading journal or on Goodreads. I don't know what I was doing, but I read Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills during the Lullathon. This one is about a girl. She goes to an all-girls school and sees the it couple of the school, which are 2 girls, breaking up, and she is like, crap, the one girl in that couple is determined to hate her, and so they are actually paired up to work on a paper together, and they do horrible, awful, because like the other girl writes half of it, she's like, here, write the rest, and she was due like the night before is when they started writing it. And so the teacher says, if you try out for the play, I'll see what I can do about your grade. So both of them have to try out for the play. It's A Midsummer Night's Dream, one of my absolute favorite Shakespeare plays, and it goes on from there, and she does end up, our main character grows closer to someone in the play, and he is like the guy who's like friends with everybody, and you know that kind of guy who just like everyone gets along with him, everyone loves him, and she doesn't know if he likes her, and she has been hurt before, and someone said like, you just don't make me feel anything, and that's really stuck with her, and she feels like she can never really be with someone, and so she's very insecure with her relationships, and it goes on from there. The main character of this was totally relatable in the fact that like you don't want to put yourself out there and you feel really vulnerable and you've been hurt once and you're like, I really feel like no one's ever gonna like me again and everyone feels this way about me, and I really loved it. I think I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Emma Mills' romances are so good and they don't sound juvenile and cheesy. She writes such realistic characters and I really loved it, and if you want a good YA when you're older, even if you're YA age, but like if you're older and tired of the immature YA, you have to read this. I love her books. Another book I listened to on audio, and this is the second book by this author, and I'm giving it a 2 stars just like I gave the other one. I'm just giving up on this author, but everyone loves her books and I don't get it. I listened to Ruthless King by Megan March. Megan March is a really popular author for romance, and this one just like was so annoying. It's about a girl who has her own like distillery company, and what happens is her husband that she married after like a month died while with his mistress. And so she's like devastated, and her husband had like all these debts, and so the main guy, I don't even remember what he does, he's part of like the Irish mafia or something, I don't even know. He says, I will forgive your husband's debts if you basically be my plaything. And she's like, I really don't want to, but I guess I'll agree, and like it's annoying. And of course, like, these books are super short, and all the books I've read by her are really short, and they're part of a series that can definitely be condensed into one book, in my opinion, and there's something completely random just like thrown at the end that makes you want you to pick up the next book, and I didn't want to pick up the next book. I thought she was really annoying. She's like, I can't believe he like conned me into marrying him, her husband, that she had met for like a month, and the reasoning behind her marrying him was revealed later, and it was so stupid, and I just didn't like this. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't care. I just listened to it because it was a super short audiobook. I want to say it was like 7 hours, and it took me like 3.5 to get through because I listened on double time speed, and it's just not not for me. Speaking of books not for me, the other one I read that I really didn't like was Not Until You by Corinne Michaels. I read this again because it was pretty short and I need to read this book. Corinne sends me her books to review, so I love her as an author. I've loved her books in the past, but this one was just really not for me. Our main character is obsessed with the fact that she likes to sleep around, and like she says it's not a big deal, she can do what she wants. She is an interior designer and she's going to design, I think, like a hotel for this huge company, and this guy that she had first met and like did some inappropriate things to him in the middle of a restaurant for who knows what reason, and he shows up and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm working for him, and she's really annoying. And she, just like her attitude, I found her like the most obnoxious character ever within the first like 10 pages, but I made myself stick through it because I was like, maybe it gets better. It doesn't. She's really crass and crude, and I hated that about her. She's like, oh, it's just so fun to make people uncomfortable, so let's just like talk about sex in front of people like all the time. I hated her so much, and like I think these are connected with Corinne Michaels' other books because a lot of couples showed up, and I know 2 of the couples are in 2 of her books, so I think I'm gonna like those a lot better. It's just the main character I could not stand. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. She was annoying, and I just like don't like this. I definitely want to read the other books with more, you know, okay characters, but I just can't with this book. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Seafire by Natalie C. Parker. I watched this review from Penguin, and this one was so good. I was so excited to read this. I've been in a fantasy kick lately. It's about a girl who is her own pirate ship captain, and she has an all-female crew, and they're like kind of pirates. They are the mercenary crew when there's this huge society that's ruled by this one man who rules the seas. I think they're called Bullets, are his people, and they're his ships, and this is kind of like futuristic post-apocalyptic because they have like sun sails that like use the power of the sun, so like solar panels, and they have like gadgets and stuff, so it like kind of felt historical but like not. So if you've ever seen Waterworld, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit, but with a lot more technology and kind of like Mad Max, and it was really good. This girl is trying to get revenge on this one specific Bullet because he tricked her into killing her entire family, and she has felt that guilt ever since, and her friend were the only survivors, and they've scrounged up all these girls that they've rescued because the Bullets capture children and feed them drugs and have them on their crew, and so she's taking this time to try to find this one guy and kill him. So really, really good, so action-packed. I love the main character. There was a little bit of a romance by the end, which made me really happy, but I don't know how that's gonna work out. Definitely a cliffhanger. Yeah, and I'm like dying for book 2. This is such a good fantasy, and if you want something really unique, I definitely recommend picking this up. Next, so I recently resubscribed to Kindle Unlimited because I got like 3 months for like $1 or $5 or something, and I picked up Nordic King by Karina Halle. I've been hearing amazing things about this. This is about a woman who ends up being a nanny for this king whose wife recently passed away, and he has 2 daughters. So she is from Australia, but she's been nannying in France, and this is a super slow burn romance. It's between her and the king, obviously. The king is such an angry, arrogant man, but he's trying to do better for his children, and our main character really opens his eyes to what he's doing as a father and trying to be a better father. I love it. If you like a nanny single dad story, you're gonna love this. If you like an age gap, you're gonna love this. This did have an age gap. I'm pretty sure I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. There's Christmas in this, so this is definitely a good read for December, and it was just really good, and I think you all should read it. Next, I listened to the audiobook for The Birthday List by Devney Perry. This is the first Devney Perry book, and it's definitely not gonna be my last. This was so good. So I talked about this in the Romances I'm Currently Reading video. This is about a woman who starts out with her and her husband, and he's making a birthday list where he wants to do everything by the time he turns a certain age for each birthday, and then he dies that night. And so fast forward 5 years, and she is deciding to complete his birthday list, and along the way she runs into the cop who had delivered the news that her husband was dead, and it's their romance. She needs to learn how to let herself love again. I mean, that's always the key to the story for women who, or men, a person who loses someone that they loved. And so she is doing his birthday list and growing close to this guy, and I loved it. I loved her friendship with her best friend and her brother, and she opened her own restaurant. So if you like a book about someone who cooks and bakes and does that kind of thing, it's really good. And Falling in Love with a Cop, I love my cop romances, so I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. The audiobook was amazing. This book was amazing. I loved it. Next, I read an e-arc of Good Gone Bad by Gianna Darling. This was probably my most anticipated read of the month, and this, I have conflicted feelings. This is Officer Danner and Harley Rose's story. Harley Rose is King's sister and Zeus's daughter. King was book 1, Zeus was book 2, and we've been waiting for her story, and she is a biker chick through and through, and some things like didn't connect for me. I give this a 4 to 5 stars. Okay, so the romance was still like super addicting. The motorcycle gang was still like super addicting, but it's more about Harley Rose with a different gang, and she like was dating someone in that gang, and it starts off with them. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it starts out with her and that other guy, and she's like been dating him for like 2 years with this other gang, and then it's like a shock when she like is trying to do things with that gang, and I'm like, but she's been doing it for like 2 years. I don't know. And so we got a lot of that gang and not her gang, which I fell in love with during the books 1 and 2. I loved all the characters in that gang, and we didn't get a lot of them, which was made me sad. That was probably my favorite part about book 2, was getting to know all of those characters, and some things didn't make sense, like some things weren't plausible. I don't want to spoil anything, but I was like, really? I don't know if I really liked Harley Rose that much. I just wanted more. I feel like I had super high expectations, and it was not as good as book 2, which is my favorite still. So I gave it 4 to 5 stars. Yeah, I think that, I don't know. This series is still like really, really good, and you should read it, but this was not my favorite compared to book 2. The next book I read was Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare. I did not know if I was ever going to read this series. I read book 1 a long time ago, then I reread book 1 a year and a half ago, so I finally picked up book 2, and it was amazing. Mostly because of the romance. Like, come on, this is part of the Shadowhunter world, so this is the Infernal Devices. All about Tessa, who doesn't know what she is, but she kind of has powers. She does have powers, and 2 Shadowhunters are in love with her, and she is kind of in love with both of them. I will say Will is my favorite. He was my favorite in book 1, and he's still my favorite, and I still think that she should be with him. But you'll have to read this to see who she does choose, because she can't choose. She doesn't know who she wants, and it's a crazy love triangle, but I give this 5 out of 5 stars. You should definitely read this series if you like a good romance. The last book I read was the pick what I read next for November, and that is Hate Notes by Keelan and Penelope Ward. I was really excited. This was on Kindle Unlimited, so I got on Kindle Unlimited, and it's about Charlotte, who is returning her wedding dress. Well, she's selling it to a consignment shop. She found her fiance cheating on her, so she's like, okay, I'm done. And he was also her boss, so she had to quit her job. And so she can only get store credit for her dress, though, so she sees this really gorgeous feather dress that's like a beigey, rosy pink color, and finds a blue note taped in, and it is a really, really romantic note, and it says, from the desk of Reed Eastwood. So she looks him up, and a drunken night leads her to signing up to look at $1 million property that she knows he's showing, because he's in real estate, and he calls her out, and before she knows it, she gets a job, and it's working for him, and he doesn't know that that's her, and it's their romance. And Reed is very determined to push people away, because he was denied by someone. That love note obviously did not work out. That person returned their dress, sold it, so he is heartbroken and pushing everybody away. But Charlotte is hilarious. Like, I loved her character, and she really pushes his buttons and tests him, and she starts doing a kind of bucket list, and he kind of starts one too, and it's really cute. I give it 4 to 5 stars though. By the end, I was like kind of not super loving it, and I was just like trying to finish. So if a book ever does that, I normally drop it down a star. I really love the beginning and the middle, and the end got pretty serious, which these authors sometimes do with their books, and I really loved knowing more about the characters, but like I said, I was just kind of like reading to get through it by the end and not like loving it like I did in the beginning. So 4 out of 5 stars. And that is my November TBR. I think I read more than 12. I don't even know how many I read. I can't count anymore, but that's all I have. Let me know down below if you've read any of these, what your thoughts are, or what you read this month and loved. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.